Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, do you hear? Try that with me again. Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you
want to do a close-up of Tony while he talks?
And the second part goes, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun and the rain, do you hear, do you hear? Okay. In the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun and the rain, do you hear, do you hear? Let's try it one more time and then we'll do the whole thing. Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, do you hear? In the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun, in the rain, do you hear, do you hear? Right, now we'll do the whole thing, all three verses. Write it down.
Expressing a concern for all of our friends, family members in Ukraine.
Leslie.
Behind you there.
Hi, Cheryl. Just to follow up to your wishes for my friend Kim. I saw her yesterday, and someone had made us a beautiful lap blanket to give her, and she appreciated it, and she knows that we're all rallying for her. She has stage 3 breast cancer. A little concerning in that she had a normal mammogram in September, and then she found this lump that's the size of a lemon. She's undergoing chemotherapy, starting to regress, so the new treatments now are hopeful, unlike maybe 10 years ago. So again, if you light a candle for her and keep her in our thoughts.
Thank you. Kathy?
I have a joy at 2:15 a.m. My niece had a little baby boy, and it's a real joy because we had 4 daughters in our family. We had 4 granddaughters, and all the great-grandchildren are females. So this is a real joy for our family.
Poor little boy.
Any other joys and concerns? Kathy?
I have a joy. Shortly after this service today, Joe and I are going up for a week, hopefully skiing. I hope there's the ability to ski up in Door County, cross-country ski, of course. So we're looking forward to a nice week up there.
Any other joys and concerns? Okay, I will light one more candle for those unexpressed joys and concerns, both here and for our members who are not present with us today. The span of life passes, and the time of our years is all too brief. Let us therefore make room in our community for those who have need of our love. Make room for the uprooted ones who have rejected their past but cannot find a future. Make room for the withdrawn who alone know their woes and have not yet found the courage to share them. Make room for the proud who think they know all the answers, and for those who have no answers at all. Make room for the sophisticates who think they know how to act, and for those of us who are too confused to act at all. Make room for the critical who disturb the status quo, and for the uncritical who accept it. Make room for each of us in our human condition. Let us deal gently with each other, and let us make room in our community for each other, for the span of life passes, and the time of our years is all too brief. Blessed be. Amen. Incidentally, I was thinking as we did the joys and sorrows, I remember seeing a cartoon, and it had a minister at apparently an interfaith service, and he said, we ask all of you to pray for so-and-so and so-and-so, and any Unitarians here, do whatever it is you do. They say that in Alaska's Inuit language, there are 50 different words for snow, because snow was such an important reality in the Arctic area, and there are so many different kinds that would be important to know. Well, there's a concept in English that has at least 50 words too, perhaps indicating how important it is in our lives, and that is the word for road or way. There's avenue, street, boulevard, thoroughfare. There's also road and roadway, drive and driveway, path and pathway, way and byway, alley, alleyway, steps and stepway, bridge and bridgeway, lane and bylane, pass and bypass, and also underpass and overpass. There's highway, freeway, parkway, speedway, causeway, throughway, walkway, runway, trail and track, toll road, turnpike, route and roundabout, crossroads, course and crossway, Autobahn, interstate, intersection. And are you going up the stairs, down the aisle, through the door, across the bridge, up the ladder, down the stream, over the river and through the woods. To grandmother's house we go, or somewhere over the rainbow. And when you travel on one of these modes of transportation, are you on a flight or a voyage? On a cruise, a course, or a crossing? On a drive or a day trip? And is it an outing or an odyssey? A hike or a hodge? A roam or a run? Are you being led down the garden path, following the yellow brick road, or climbing a stairway to heaven? And shall we call it a trip or a tour, a trek or just travels, an itinerary or an adventure? And is it a journey, a junket, a jaunt, a pilgrimage, a passage, a peregrination? Whatever you call it, you're on it. And of course, the most common of these words is way itself. We speak of people who can't find their way or have lost their way, people who aren't making any headway or are in a bad way, people who are waylaid or wayward. And for big thinkers, there's the Milky Way. And there's also no way, meaning an intensive no, as well as going my way, up and away we go, and please go away. Away, incidentally, was originally two words, and way. Also, autocratic people are often known to say my way or the highway, and Dr. King referred to the Black struggle as making a way out of no way. A couple years ago, Lakeshore UU Fellowship embarked on a journey or path or way or course or trajectory or odyssey, well, forget it, to creating a congregational covenant. And one of the things we did at the very beginning of this process was hold a couple workshops for people to share their spiritual journey, their own, to Unitarian Universalism. And the idea was that by examining our own spiritual journeys, or roads or paths or ways, and what we received through our UU experience, we could better decide what kind of covenant would help us keep this kind of UU community, not only for us, but for people who come after. Plus, the sharing of our journeys let congregants learn about each other in ways that casual conversations at coffee hour or committee meetings don't always encourage. And there were also circle suppers in the weeks that followed to build on those. You might say, we shared our journeys to this place in order to help create some road signs and directions for the journey this fellowship as a whole is on. Or as the late UU minister Kenneth Patton said in one of the responsive readings in our hymn book, we arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another. In other words, we come on our own individual pathways to a place that will put that path into the context of a larger one. And the interesting thing to me about pathways is almost every religion in the world refers to itself with one of those words. In Judaism, for example, there's something called halakha, which is usually translated as law or legal material, and refers to the guidelines for living a Jewish life. But the word halakha literally means walk. It's one of the first words you learn in Hebrew. It's translated as walk or go or travel, and it's used over and over in the Bible. Moses went here, then he went there, then he traveled to. Halakha is how you walk through your life, your path, your journey, your way. Another example, in the earliest days of Christianity, the followers of Jesus were not called Christians. They were called, rather, people of the way, or followers of the way. Buddhism also is usually referred to as the middle way, a middle between indulgence of pleasure and mortification of the body. And the Sanskrit word dharma means way. And Islam is known as the straight way or path. The word Shinto from Japan, here's where I bring in my infamous props, merely means Shin is gods and To is way. So Shinto means the way of the gods. Incidentally, this is what I would categorize as little known and less cared about facts from Tony Larson. But before in the ancient times in Japan, there was no name for the religion that the people practiced. They didn't need one because there was only one, and it was what everybody did. But then when Buddhist missionaries came to teach Buddhism, they realized that that was one way, and they thought, well, we should have a name for ours too. But ironically, the word they picked for it was Chinese. Shin for gods, and To is just a corruption of Dao. So it's Shin Dao, would have been what it was. So anyway, Shinto comes from Japan. And of course, you've heard of, what else do I have here? You've heard of Judo, meaning soft way, Taekwondo, which means kick fist way, and of course, Shinto, you know. And To or Do, as you heard, is a corruption of the Chinese word Dao. Here it is. Yeah, finding my way, finding my Dao. All right. The word Dao is sometimes spelled with a D and sometimes with a T. Again, little known and less cared about facts, but if you've ever seen this book, the Dao De Jing, this is how it's spelled today in China, Dao De Jing, but you may see it as Tao Te Ching or even Tao Te King, and that's because before China decided on a consistent way to spell their words, which all the kids learn, they didn't know what to do about the word Dao because it's not quite a D and it's not quite a T. It's Dao. And so the earlier system had T with an apostrophe for the hard T, Tao. But for Dao, they just had it with the T. But of course, it's not pronounced either way. So the closest they do now is Dao De Jing. And it's actually Dao De Jing. Again, little known and less cared about, I understand. All right. And of course, Daoism, we get the word Daoism, refers to the way of the universe and what you might call Dao with a capital D, and the way each of us should live as individuals, what you might call Dao with a small d. And today's address is an attempt to look at both of these pathways, the generic one that we almost travel if we want to find fulfillment, and the particular road that each of us must discover for ourselves. There was a story I once read about a woman who was stranded on a desert island, and she was stranded for 20 years. And finally, she saw a ship in the distance. So she lit a fire on the beach so the ship could see it and come to her rescue. But when the boat landed there, the captain noticed that the woman had built 3 different buildings. And he said, well, you've been alone on this island for 20 years. Why did you build 3 different houses? And she said, oh, no. Only the one on the right is my house. The one on the left is my church. And the captain was impressed, but even more curious now, he said, well, then what's the building in the center? And she said, that's the church I used to attend. There are many small Daos that are part of the big Dao, and you can try out more than one of them if you like. All right. Now, what is this general way, with a big D? Consider the Taoist passage I read for joys and concerns. Be kind to all things, treat others as you treat yourself. Pauputsa. Isn't that pretty similar to our first UU principle? The inherent worth, seeing the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Or rejoice in people's fortune, feel compassion at their suffering, relieve the destitute, save the poor. Isn't that pretty close to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations? Our second UU principle, and also our 8th principle, overcoming racism. And consider these words from the Tao Te Ching. People at their best are like water. They serve as they go along. Like water, they seek their own level, a common level of life. They love living close to the earth, living clear down in their heart. Those who love the world as if it were their own body can truly care for all things. Isn't that similar to our 6th UU principle, the goal of world community, and our 7th, respect for the interdependent web of all existence? Now, these are Taoist readings. I could have used scriptures from other religions, like love your neighbor as yourself, which was not created by Jesus, by the way. That's an old Jewish law from Leviticus 19:18, and that's part of the Jewish and Christian traditions. Also, no one of you is a believer until you love for others what you love for yourself. That's in the Hadith of Muhammad. But the way is taught in all the world's major religions is actually pretty similar. And as the Jains reminded us in the Naladiyar, which I use in the opening words, cows come in many different colors, but their milk is always white. The path of virtue, like milk, is one, but the religions that teach it are many. At any rate, that's the generic day, the generic way, the Tao with a capital D. Love your neighbor, golden rule, UU principles. But what is your way, your path along this general road with your particular gifts and your special dreams? I can't tell you exactly what that will be, but I can give you some outlines or guidelines for figuring out where to set your shoes. First of all, I would argue what are you good at? And what do you really like to do? Are you good at writing or counseling people or telling jokes or dealing with money or inventing things? And what do you enjoy doing the most? Is it working with kids or the elderly? Is it music or acting? Is it science or teaching or reading or organizing things or making delicious meals? What you're good at and what you enjoy are not always the same thing, of course. But whatever your talents or desires, you should be using them in your chosen path, not necessarily on your day job. We don't always get that opportunity to earn money doing what we like to do, but at least in the path you choose for your life as a whole. And if you're wondering what I mean by the path for your life as a whole, what I mean basically is, what will people say about you at your funeral? Think about your funeral and what people might say to sum up your life, and you've got the path you're on. You see, they won't say that much about the jobs you held or the money you made, but they will talk about how you treated people on the job and off, and the children you raised or the family you loved, and the friends you helped, or the peace and justice you worked for, and the unique, idiosyncratic way you did all these things. That's what they'll talk about. And that is your personal path. I heard about someone at a funeral who was told, if you can't say anything good about the dead, don't say anything. And he said, okay, good, he's dead. If you don't want people to say that about you, I ask you, are you doing what you like in your life? Are you doing what you're good at? And if you're not, it's not just you who will suffer for that. It's all the other people who needed what you and maybe only you could give, but got only a portion of because you weren't giving with joy. It's important to use your gifts and live out your dreams when you walk your path in life. Because if you don't, it'll not only be you who are the poorer for it, it'll be everyone else you touched. The next thing I would say is that, for those of you who can't see it, it says community, all right? We usually find our own individual road best through community. That is, when we share our questions and our yearnings with others, and they share theirs with ours, or with us, I mean, we are better able to discover our own unique path, and they theirs. In fact, before Lakeshore UU Fellowship started working on the covenant, you had some interesting comments during the covenant input sessions. At one of them, we found out that one of you was raised Christian Scientist, one was unchurched, and 14 were raised Catholic. So some interesting pathways come together here. And when we got together later to discuss what things that people like about LUUF or what has inspired them, the sense of community came through loud and clear. Among the ideas presented were, I get loving support, being valued as an individual, being able to tell your own story without being judged. It's a wonderful irony, I think, that we learn who we are as individuals by being in community. That's why we're really here as a congregation. We are all sharing our journeys with one another, whether through joys and concerns, or potluck dinners, or coffee hour conversations, or the groups we join, committees we serve, and Zoom meetings we attend. And we are learning who we are as a result. One of you said, "This community holds me and holds me up." Very nice phraseology. And a couple of you said, you think of this fellowship as home, or that you like the laid-back, non-judgmental experience you feel here. And at least one of you said, finding a UU congregation is like finding your own tribe. I will say that for me, definitely. It was like, this is what I've been all my life and didn't know it existed. And another said, everyone who sits in these pews has a commitment to the very things I value. And Unitarian Universalism helps me find a moral compass, as well as showing me models for growing old gracefully. And others said they appreciated the interfaith perspective they got here, or simply the shared values. So we grow to understand our own individual path, or Tao, through community. That's how we learn who we are. Now, as you know, the rest of the world will not always hold you up in your path. There will be people out there who do not agree with the values that you and this congregation stand for. And that's why the next thing I want to say is that whatever path you were on, if everyone admires you for it, you probably took a wrong turn. Criticism. All right. And that's because to do what you believe is right will always tick off people who don't approve of your path. And if you're not ticking someone off, you're probably not doing what is right for you. Or as another UU once told me, you are best known by the enemies you keep. I read something recently about Gloria Steinem and her work with the women's movement. She grew up, as you may know, and about her work in the women's movement. She grew up, as you may know, in Toledo, Ohio, actually East Toledo, which was the poorer side of town. And after she was pretty familiar in the feminist movement, she came back to Toledo for a women's conference where she met other women who had gone to the same high school she had, and were now organizing programs for battered women and passing pro-choice legislation. And during a local TV interview, she talked about some of these women and their stories, and someone called into the program to say how awful he thought she was and how terrible the conference was, and he called her a slut from East Toledo. Well, you know, when she was a kid, that would have destroyed her. That would have been so humiliating. But she thought about it, and she took it as a badge of honor. She said, we toasted each other as the sluts from East Toledo with coffee and beer after the interview, and I thought, not a bad thing to be. Maybe I'll put it on my tombstone. So, if you're not ticking someone off, you're probably on the wrong path. And if you are ticking someone off, wear their criticism as a badge of honor. Another thing I'd like to say, the word here is pushed, by the way, all right? Another thing I would like to say is that although part of your path is something you choose, part of it may be thrust on you. So it doesn't pay to plan it all ahead. There's a story I like about a wealthy man who had a gigantic estate, including a great big swimming pool filled with crocodiles. And he was taking a group of guests on a tour, and when he showed them the pool, and he said, I keep these crocodiles in here as a standing challenge. If anyone can swim from one side of the pool to the other and survive, they can have anything they want. My cars, my estate, my whole fortune. Well, the guests kind of looked at each other and chuckled nervously, and they were starting to go into the house when suddenly they heard the sound of a splash, and they saw someone swimming from one side of the pool to the other. And amazingly, the swimmer survived. And when she came out of the pool, the wealthy man said, I didn't think it could be done, but I'm a man of my word. What do you want? Do you want my cars, my estate, my entire fortune? And the woman, who was dripping wet, just said, I don't want any of those things. I just want to know who the heck pushed me into that pool. Well, sometimes you'll get pushed into something you never planned, but as John Lennon once said, life is what happens while you're making other plans. In fact, someone who was pushed into a situation that he wasn't ready for, but who rose to the occasion, was a figure from World War II that you might have heard about. I know that you might not have heard about. I know I didn't until recently. His name was Bishop Stefan, the leader of the Orthodox Church in Bulgaria, or as they call their bishops in the Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Stefan. Now, Bulgaria was not conquered by Germany. It was an ally nation with Germany from the beginning. Yet, they never deported their Jewish citizens to Nazi concentration camps. Bulgaria and Denmark are the two countries where Jews were saved from Hitler's extermination program. Why? Well, one reason in Bulgaria was Bishop Stefan. When Jews were rounded up near the train station in Sofia to be loaded onto cattle cars and sent to Auschwitz, Bishop Stefan came down with a couple thousand Orthodox Christians and went into the stockade where the Jews were being held. And the SS guards tried to stop him. They even aimed their guns at him, but he just pushed their guns aside and left. And he stood in the midst of the Jews and just said one verse from the Bible. And it's one you often hear at weddings, actually. It's from the book of Ruth. He said, wherever you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. And the Jews cheered him, and so did the Christians. And the Jews were not then or ever sent to concentration camps from Bulgaria. He wasn't the only reason, of course, but he was part of it. Now, Bishop or Metropolitan Stefan didn't exactly plan the path his life would take. He didn't know in the beginning that the Nazis would try to deport all the Jews from his country and kill them. He couldn't have known in advance that being the Bishop of Bulgaria would put such a choice before him. You know, a choice where whatever he did or didn't do would have a tremendous influence on his country. He was thrust into this pool of crocodiles, you might say, and he came out swimming. Garrison Keillor once spoke of to the situation of having your path take you where you never expected to go. He said, some luck lies in not getting what you thought you wanted, but getting what you have, which once you have got it, you may be smart enough to see is what you would have wanted had you known. Some luck lies in not getting what you thought you wanted, but getting what you have, which once you have got it, you may be smart enough to see is what you would have wanted had you known. And since you can never be sure where your road will take you, I say it's best not to outline all the details in advance. rather than trying to plan everything you'll do on your road through life, decide on the kind of person you want to be, and the doing will flow from that. So, Tao with a capital D is love your neighbor, leave the world a better place. Are you your principles? Your particular way to do that, your personal Tao, will hopefully be something you were good at, something you like, something that will ripen through community, something that not everyone will admire you for, and in fact may make you some enemies, and something that you may get pushed into without a lot of planning or preparation. But there it is, your own way. So I leave you with these words. Took me a while to write this. The road is sometimes rocky, and the trail is often steep. The path is never clear enough. There's potholes in the street. The lane you're in may disappear. The route may seem too hard. The causeway and the walkway may block the boulevard. Go on your journey anyway. Take avenues of strength. May your thoroughfare be thorough and fair, and you will win at length. But remember, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just stand there. All right. So we have a few minutes for, so if anyone has a comment or a question you'd like to ask, just raise your hand, right? Or we'll take care of that. Yes. No, I better, huh? Yeah.
You want to hold the microphone?
Oh yeah, he asked, have you published it? And I haven't yet. But you know what? I'll leave a copy here, and if you want to have it in, your newsletter, that's great.
You want to share your comment again?
Well, my question was, have you published it? And now we've got the microphone so all can hear.
Yes.
One of the things that you did is the etymology of these, but you didn't tell us what the etymology of journey is.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that has something to do with what you do daily from the French.
It is. Journey, yeah. If you look if you have a dictionary with etymologies, the French word for day is jour. And it's like bonjour, good day. And that's, so have a good walk ahead is kind of, it's related to that. Also, if you've ever read the Odyssey is the Greek word for journey, and Odysseus just means journeyer. And of course, you've heard of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. I mean, really, probably after today, you're going to see this one version of this word, at least a dozen times today. You'll hear it somewhere.
I've been reading a book called Stealing Jesus by someone Broward. It was written in 1998, I think, but it's really appropriate today. And he has, there's a paragraph or something that's very similar to what you said about all the ways.
Right.
And how it's all not religions, but it's pathways to.
Yes. We can broaden it, say religions, philosophies, credos.
Yes.
And in India, the metaphor they use is many different paths up to the same mountaintop.
I was just wondering if, after listening you speak, if it wouldn't be a good idea to surround some of our friends with those that might push us in the body of water with the. I mean. I'm here for it. Yes, she is.
Other comments? I have one, Tony. This is a personal reflection, but your sermon today helped me understand something. I stepped up to be the chairperson for the Democratic Party here in Manitowoc County. And after I did that, I said to myself, what the hell am I doing here?
Right.
Because it was, you know, at my age, why do I want to take on something like this? But it really is the next thing on what's important to me. So thank you for thinking.
And any of you who are or have been parents know that as soon as you have a kid, all bets are off. Yeah. Would you rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 116, I'm on my way. This is, even if you don't know it, I think you'll pick it up fairly easily. So just start singing whenever you feel you got it. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I asked my sister, come and go with me, come and go with me. I asked my sister, come and go with me. My sister, come and go with me. I'm on my way, God, I'm on my way. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I'm on my way, God, I'm on my way. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. I'm on my way, God, I'm on my way. I'm on my way and I won't turn back. I'm on my way and I won't turn back. And I won't turn back. I'm on my way. I'm on my way and I won't turn back. And I won't turn back. I'm on my way. I'm on my way and I won't turn back. I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. Our closing words are adapted from the Reverend Kenneth Patton, the minister I quoted from earlier, who said, we all have two religions or two ways, the one we talk about and the one we live. It is our task to make the difference between the two as small as possible. Another way of saying you've got to walk your talk. Happy traveling, everyone. This trail has reached a crossroad. Your trail lies up ahead. Join in singing Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my friend. Shalom, shalom. Till we meet again, till we meet again. Shalom, shalom. You ready to try it in parts? I think you can do this. So first group. Shalom, my friends. Shalom. Shalom, my friend, shalom, my friend, shalom, my friend, shalom, my friend, shalom, shalom, till we meet again, till we meet again, shalom, shalom. Nice.
You're all invited upstairs for coffee and treats. and to continue the conversation. Thank you for coming today.